Painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo. Painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo. PEINTEINGU 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 PEINTEINGU. Give it up, you 30 mortars! For Myro the Monkey, praying us in on another glorious day of Paintingu. Paintingu, goo, 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 goo. Paintingu, goo, 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 goo. Goo 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 goo. Painting goo goo, painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo, painting goo. Painting goo, goo 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 goo. Paintingu, goo 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 goo. Bring it home, Myro. Do it for the 30 mortars. Remind the realm what beauty is, my mischievous monkey. Paintingu, paintingu. If you have any honor, we will press some coinage and give the monkey a tip in his boar. His survivor, Myro's survivor, depends on you. One of these days, you might turn on this stream, and he'll be gone. I will replace him with something I don't have to feed and accommodate. Enough monkeying around. You have done your job this fine day, Myro. It is now Garros' turn. Behold! Of Japanites already know what rise before you 30 mortars is a Garros, reminding you to like and subscribe to Paintingu, lest I unleash him upon you. Look at him in all his glory, 865 pounds of tigre, ready to kire, or who do not fear me, and pay for Paintingu. Myro rests easily, knowing that he is constantly watched over by that giant feline. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you feel safe with that behind you, ready to be flung at any who oppose and do not have any honor to pay for Paintingu. Indeed, it is another fine and glorious day for Paintingu, and I, Defenderu, demigod of Paintingu, have come again to grant you, to bless you with my beautiful Paintingu skills, as I embark on my profound adventure to paint my way back into the glorious halls of Chinese heaven. You ready, Tobias, my feathery friend? Allow us to send some cleansing vibrations through the ether to you, the filthy mortals, and, of course, my beloved Japanites. Tuikarin Diberu, Stabru, Desmond Hunteru, Korberu, let us gather our chi. The cleansing vibrations of Tobias Beakus Croas's dong. His tiny dong sends out those cleansing vibrations to clean your chi, to allow your chi to flow freely and with passion and purpose. Forgive me. I have yet to descend to proper Paintingu posture. Glorious. I am now ready to engage in the goo. Minibaru has already done his job, of course, as we currently return to St. Vincent's? Yes, St. Vincent's and Grenadines. That island that sounds like it's named after a saint who's like experts at throwing grenades or some shit. I don't fucking know. What kind of name is St. Vincent's and Grenadines? I can't even say it. It's so foreign to me. It's ridiculous. I much prefer the title to these episodes. Just called Vincent's Cake. There's a cake. The island's called Vincent. Fuck it. Why not? But we return, regardless, to this beautiful location. This tropical Caribbean? Location. Where we have encountered a giant wedding cake, wielding a pistol, attempting to defend a newlywed bride and groomer from Giga Mouse, a well-known kaiju in the Caribbean regions. He is of Rastafarian descent and wields a giant M40 saw of sorts. His soon-to-be created, manifested into visual existence boombox that he carries upon his shoulder is the only thing people can hear before he emerges from the ocean. For those of you that do not know what an ocean is, it is the ocean, as you filthy mortals seem to want to refer to it as. That is not how you spell ocean. How you spell ocean is O-S-U-H-U-N, not O-C-E-A-N. That is ocean. I know Greek. Cannot fuck with me. Saint Vincent is he who discovered the holy hand grenade of Antioch and invented the concept of what it means to be a grenadier. As always, Desmond Hunter is quick to Google some factual facts to disseminate here on Paintingu. Corberu, it seems your job has been taken. Where were you? Let's Paintingu at an Austrian castle perched high above a ski resort soon. Simmer. Oh, fuck me, gooey's shit. I have ban-fanned the goo. What have I done? Yes, indeed. Perhaps you have been inspired by our recent visit to Castle Liechtenstein in Germany. We were in Deutschland recently, looking for Wardo. Worry, whatever his fucking name is. What's his name in other places? Walter? There has, like, I kind of want to look that up again. Hold on a minute. Where is it? It's gonna be in my... Where's Wally? Where's the Where's Wally names? This had me in bitch. In bitch? This had me in bitch. This had me in bits, laugh. Is what I meant to say. This had me in bitch. I became a bitch when I looked at this. Fuck. Looking at a list of names turns you into a puddle of pussified bitchness. What was my favourite one? Where is it? Oh yeah, Hugo! Like, how do you go from going from Wally to Waldo, not a stretch, you know? Going from Wally to fucking Hugo, or Charlie, or Hetty. Like, one of them's Ali. Ali! That's in Turkey. Oh, it's fucking brilliant. Man, I love random shit like that. It's the funniest stuff ever, like. Oh, that's actually hilarious. I was catching up on Owen's stream earlier on. I didn't know that that clown serial killer dude fucking killed exactly 33 children. I thought the clown killer guy, like, just killed a bunch of, like, adult people over a series of weeks or some shit like that, and then they caught him and whatever. Like, I didn't know it was 33 kids. That's so, like, that's so, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, suspicious. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and then the lottery thing with the 666. Like, there's so many, like, people who look at other people are like, oh, you're one of those crazy conspiracy theorists. I genuinely now think, I'm of the humble opinion of, that if you're one of these people that's like, oh, you're one of those conspiracy theorists, are you? I think you're like, you have to be like under like 60 IQ or some shit like that. To not to, or like, you know, you just need to be like clinically brain dead, or like you're like a mongoloid or a retard or something, like, because like pattern recognition I don't think requires necessarily like a huge amount of intelligence. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I've said it multiple, like, people have turned around to me like over the years and like noted or made the critique that like I'm fairly intelligent, like, do you know what I mean? But like I'm intelligent enough to know that I'm not that intelligent. Like, that's my take on it. Is like, I always used to say, if I was really intelligent, I wouldn't have these problems in life, because if I was genuinely like genius level intelligent or some shit, I would like know how to fix shit. I would just like come up with a solution to my problems. So by that logic, I'm not that intelligent, like, you know. But other people be like, oh no, you're really like smart and shit, like, and I never felt that though. I never felt intelligent. I always felt like I was just kind of like paying attention more than other people, like autistically even. Do you know what I mean? Like, people found me weird and stuff because I would like often just be staring into the distance, you know, and I'd just be in my mind and stuff like that. And apparently people don't like have that, like, you know. What was it, on average, or a lot of people, how many, was it 30% of the population or some shit don't even have an internal monologue? I think that's fucking crazy, man. No wonder a lot of people don't like being on their own. You know what I mean? Like, when I'm on my own, I don't feel like, I feel it on my own physically, obviously, because I don't, there's no one around, it's just me. But I never feel alone. The voices in my head keep me company. Like, and I genuinely don't think that makes me sound crazy when you look at it from the perspective that I'm talking about, where it's like, I don't think I'm like possessed by demons, you know. I think I might have one or two not like low tier demons knocking around in there, all right, yeah. Like, I just call them addictions. Do you know what I mean? I like that symbolism side of life. That's kind of like that metaphorical interpretation of life, where it's like, these concepts can be simply viewed, described, and experienced through many lenses, you know? You could easily describe a nicotine addiction as some sort of, you know, possession. You have stumbled into the trap of nicotine addiction, and the demon of smoking is now, like, clutched firmly to the inside of your lungs, and every so often just tugs on you, and is just like, need to smoke. Need to smoke. Like, being mindful and watching yourself and your thoughts and stuff like that, that's one of the easiest ways, I think, to come to the conclusion that, like, you know, like, that's like, if you're in any way honest person, you start to completely deconstruct your own ego, because you're like, oh shit, like, you know, I get angry at this, I get sad at this, like, I'm clearly addicted to that, like, and fucking, you just start picking yourself apart, like, critically. And don't get me wrong, it can suck, you know, especially when you genuinely attempt to do it objectively and critically, and you start picking yourself apart, like. But again, I think that's what leads to people like us being like, you know, well, that's obviously not true because that doesn't make sense and stuff like this and all, like, you know. Whereas a lot of people, I think, are just willfully ignorant and shit. But anyway, now I'm just like, I'm doing my usual shit where I'm just rambling. Here on Paintingu, the reason why people say paint, rant, paint is because that's what I do here. I paint, I rant, I ramble. I expound upon the insides of my mindu. Which I think is a healthy thing to do, you know? I don't want to bother the female with endless exposition of what the fuck I'm thinking about, like, you know, but I have to do it somehow. And I suppose I could keep a journal, you know, like the old Chads used to. You just, like, everything you're thinking, you just write it down, you know? Just endless pages of the inside of your mind inscribed on pages. I mean, isn't that what the Greek, the great Roman philosophers did and shit, like, where, you know, all these, like, Marcus Aurelius, you know, what, isn't that, is it Marcus Aurelius's rhetoric? No? What's the other one called? It's not Plato. I can't remember. Two Acre Indie Bear is indeed very excited for the good this fine day. But yeah, an Austrian castle perched high above a ski resort. That'd be cool. That like, I'm getting images from Hitman just thinking about that, like, because there's actually a ski resort. There's like a mountain ski resort in Hitman, but it's in Japan. It's fucking brilliant. So it's one of my favorite missions. You can actually dress up as a ninja with a katana and all, and just like sneak in. Hitman's a hilarious game. The dark humor in that game is like potent. It's pissed. What's right, Corbett? Did you just piss yourself on my comment stream, in my chat? Did you just piss yourself in my chat? I'm taking the piss. 137 should be the Netherlands. I'm like, so I'm right. You just looked up the map that I have on Google or something, have you? And you just have it up on your phone. You're like, which one's which? That's cheating. Like, the whole point of the fucking map and the magic hat is that we don't know where we're going or what we're doing. And of course the fucking female is the first one to be like, well, I could just Google it and, like, you know, we could go where we want and completely circumnavigate Africa for the next 6 months. Like, I still think that's amazing. I mean, like, how funny is that? That, like, for months I'm like, oh fuck, not Africa again, where are we going? Oh my god, like, there's like 50 countries in Africa again, fuck, here we go. Like, and the amount of fucking goblins I put in those paintings, and the whole time I didn't know that that's actually a thing in Africa since like the 50s, probably even longer, you know, where they blame shit on goblins. Like, I love that so much. Like, it's like, you know, that thing from Monty Python, a goblin in Africa? Like, it's, do you imagine, like, Tolkien's like, well, that's just culturally, like, you know, that doesn't make any sense. Goblins belong here, you know? Like, he's, like, thinking of it on a fucking, like, culturally, mythologically, you know, congruent and, like, chronologically kind of thing. Like, you know, it's fucking goblins in Africa. It's like taking, like, you know, fantasy dwarves that, like, you know, do mining and shit, and you put them in, like, Dubai. Like, fucking red hair, pasty ass skin in caves all the time. I suppose the angle you could argue is that the reason they live in caves is because the sun is too strong in the top half of their region is a fucking blasted desert wilderness. So they descended into the ground like scorpions. Oh, that'd be hilarious. You'd have like fucking, you'd have black dwarves with perms. Didn't they do that in Rings of Power? They like made they like did black elves and black dwarves and shit. Like, it's like so funny. Oh, they've literally gotten to every, like, the the gay tentacle monster has gotten its fucking tentacles into like every franchise over the last 15 years. I heard, I haven't kept up with South Park, but apparently South Park took the piss out of that, and they were like, "Make it lame and gay," you know. Like I've just seen that clip of Cartman. Say, "Make it lame and gay, put lesbians in it, give them blue hair, make it lame and gay." Like I fucking love. Oh, fuck them though. You know, I've said that already. Like, you know, like selling out for $1 billion to not take the piss out of COVID while it was happening. Like, you fucking trash monkeys. You people have no honor. I'm thinking snowboarding attack turtles. Like, you've gone. I've made you go from like asking me to paint like ducks with rockets and shotguns and shit, and now you just won't shut up about the turtles. I fucking love it. Everything's a turtle now. Put a tactical turtle in a tactical turtleneck, and have him do something tactical. Oh, and now we have what do we have now? What came up yesterday? Fucking the Squeak Squad 6, Squeak Team 6. Is it Squeak Team 6? You have fucking mice that are basically like SEAL Team 6. Like, man, I think they could look brilliant. I was trying to picture. I was like mulling it over in my head while I was in the kitchen yesterday, and I was like, "What'd be, you know, what kind of gear, what kind of like headgear, you know, weapons and stuff." Like, obviously, everything's gonna have a silencer on it. Do you know what I mean? Shit like that, like, fucking, you know, laser sights, green ones, obviously. Everything's gonna be like neon green, have fucking like Splinter Cell style fucking headgear, gas masks, fucking you know, bandoliers with flashbangs on them and stuff, like like, you know, fucking little ball drone things, or the fiber optic shit you could put under doors and stuff. Like, there's definitely going to be a mouse with a tablet connected to like some kind of like moving gun turret robot thing. And like I'll give the robot, like, so you'll have like a mouse that's like SEAL Team 6 with all the gear, and he's like controlling on a tablet a robot that looks like a mouse. Like, it's like a fucking RoboCop mouse thing on like tracks. Oh man, I just like I really need to fucking get some money together and get myself a fucking. I could probably do it on this laptop and stuff. But I need to, I need to start animating shit. It'd be too funny, especially like with how basic bitch low production I would make it in the beginning. Like it'd be pretty much like South Park. It'd just be pictures moving and stuff, like, you know. And then like I've had an idea for ages that I want to do all the sound effects like analog. You know, I want to look up on the internet like how they do like or how they did all the old stuff. And I know some shit. You know, like they get those like hollow bricks and like slam them together to make like gunshot noises. They get like a comb and put tinfoil through it and be like, woo! And like get like, you know, tubes of like varying diameter and like different fucking, like one's PVC, one's cardboard, one's like aluminium or some shit. Like, so you can get all these like bong, woo, like you get all these like space age sounding shit, like, you know. And then there's just basic stuff, like, you know, you could just like pick something up off a table with the mic within range. So you have like basic movements, like then you do like, you know, footsteps, shit knocking and stuff now. Like, I'd love to do that. It'd be deadly, like trying to match up all the audio with all the with all the frames and stuff, like, because for me, like, that's what really entertains me. That's all what's always really entertaining. I think that's why I like Jim Carrey so much, is there is a timing to comedy that is so important, especially visual physical comedy. If you time things correctly, they happen quick enough or slow enough, depending on the context, that you can get a belly laugh with no dialogue. You know what I mean? Like, I fucking love that shit. Like, I've said this before, that one of my favorite things ever out of anything is the scene in Monsters University where young Mike Wachowski is walking into the university for the first time, and he's walking past all the there's all these fucking, stalls set up to advertise the various classes that are available in the college or in the university. And he walks past the art installation, and there's this thing that just looks like it's this slender looking monster with no arms. It's just this fucking snake looking thing with a head, right? And it looks like it just has this big mop of purple hair. And it just slams its head in a pan full of paint. And then lifts it up and then looks to the left and then headbutts. Like just slam violently like a giraffe fighting. Just slams its head off the canvas. And they're like, art! You know, like, and it's just like a 3-second thing while Mike is walking past it. Like, and I remember the first time I saw that movie, that got me bad. Like, I fucking folded and start crying laughing. Because it's just in the background as he's walking in, like, and he's just like, there's science, there's maths, and then he starts walking past the art thing, and there's no dialogue in the, like, you know, there's nothing, no setup, no nothing, there's just this thing standing there, and it just fucking loafs this pan full of paint, and then, like, you know, lifts its head up and it, like, splashes the paint all over the place, like some bitch, like herbal essence bitch flicking her hair, and then just fucking annihilates its head off a canvas to the left, like, and it's just like, ta-da! Like, I love that kind of energy, like, do you know what I mean? It's one of the funniest things ever, like, and, like, Family Guy have that a lot, you know, where it's, like, just, like, single frame shit, or, like, something that's only, like, 3 frames or something, like, there's a really iconic scene in Family Guy, well, it's not a scene, it's more like a montage or a reel, where, like, Peter Griffin is trying to fucking, I think it's like a family outing, montage or something. But one of the scenes is they're in a park and he's about to put down a picnic blanket, and a fucking, like, a bright blue bull comes in out of the left side of the screen, right? Peter's on the right side of the screen, and the family's, like, in the middle foreground, and he just, like, he like flicks out a picnic blanket, and it's just about to hit the ground, and just as it's about to lay on the ground, a giant blue bull comes out of the left side of the screen and covers the whole screen. It covers the screen in, like, 3 frames less, like, you know what I mean? It goes from here to Pier in, like, 1 frame, and he goes from, like, holding the blanket to being like this on the bull in, like, 1 frame, and then just leaves the screen. And the sound of it, like, the whole, like it's just like boom, like, it's, like, fucking perfect, like. And again, it's just this tiny thing slipped in the middle of another scene that just, like, you know, there's a reason it's, like, seared into my mind, like, do you know what I mean? Where it's, like, it's just, like, they have, like, Disney have this down to a science, where there's, like, music playing, setting a rhythm, and then the scene, the visuals are following that rhythm. And it doesn't mean, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that, like, some, like, obviously loads of Disney shit is, like, a musical scene for, like, 3 minutes, and they tell part of the story, whatever, with the song, move on. But, like, sometimes there's shit just, like, ambient, like, original soundtrack background music, like, you know, with no dialogue or anything. But the way they follow everything, like, they used to do that shit with the really old Disney movies, with the red ball, the sing-along things, where the red ball would go over the words and shit. Like, these guys know what they're doing on a really fundamental level, you know, and that's what fascinates me. Is I'd love to learn how to sync shit up, where you have, like, you know, sound effects lining up perfectly with things, and, like, that I think is, like, the key to, like, some really good laughs. I'd say, like, not that I actually know from experience, because I never watched any of the Charlie Chaplin shit, really. I've only seen, like, you know, snippets, or you know, in other movies or TV shows or on the internet or something. But I'd say that, like, that's what he got down, like, you know, it's something as simple as, like, walking along with a ladder on your shoulder and then turning around, you know. There's, like, a comedic timing to it. You can't just, like, you can't do it really quickly and have no context to it, because then it just looks like an accident or somebody being injured, you know. There has to be, like, a bum 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 bum, you know, and, like, it, like, catches your nervous system in that, like, climactic you know, section. It's weird, like, you know. Obviously, I don't have the fucking academic vernacular to like accurately describe what I'm talking about. Obviously, there's lots of like jargon that is like typically associated with all that stuff, where there's like, you know, they'd actually have words for what specifically what I'm talking about. This moment here, this moment here. This is where you typically. This is a sad bit, and this is a happy bit, and here we have like a break, and here's a rhythm here, and all these like musical fucking terms and shit. And then you'd have all the visual stuff as well, like. Ugh. But anyway, let's stick on some tunes. I'm gonna stop rambling now because it's already half an hour in. I'm gonna stick on some tunage. And we have lots to paint. We still have kayaks to put in. I need to finish the mouse and his boom box. I think like the cake is pretty much done. I don't think I should like touch the cake. Cake and the bride and the groom, totally grand. Groom looks fucking like horrifying and horrified. Like, because of the way his face is like blurred. Man, seriously, it's like most days I come in here and I sit down and I look at this stuff and I'm just like, what the fuck am I painting? I love it. Did I go to read that one? I didn't finish it. I'm thinking snowboarding attack turtles. Yeah, that's when I went off on that tangent. You mentioned turtles again. Descending down the slopes into an oncoming attack by the local ducks. That's hilarious. I didn't finish that, and you were talking about turtles and ducks. That's so funny. Well, we should do that. Like, I'll do a fucking I'll do a turtle and duck war. I've said before that there's this guy who used to work for Games Workshop as an artist called Thomas Elliott. I follow him on Instagram. He's incredible, like absolutely incredible artist. And he when he was working for Games Workshop, he did these things, you know, these battle scenes where there's like loads of dudes in frame, but like they have that perspective, you know, where the guys in the foreground are large. And then the guys in the middle ground, there's like a few things happening and they're, you know, significantly smaller. And then there's like stuff happening in the background in the distance that's like tiny. But like the perspective and the detail is done so well and so fluidly that it genuinely looks like a snapshot or a screenshot of somebody like panning in like a war movie scene or something. Like fucking incredible paintings. Like, what I'd love to do, like that's what I kind of tried to do a little bit. With Sleep Deprived Bears painting, where he was in the mech with the orcs, and like, you know, there was the blood tree was the blood orange tree was in the background, and there was like an orc like right up in the foreground and shit. If you get really good at that stuff, those paintings can look fucking unreal. Like, and I'd love to do something where like I have all of my duck characters. So you go if you've never heard me rhyme off all of my duck characters before, there's Gun Duck is the main nigga, the one with the fucking multicolored afro and the shotgun, right? That's Gun Duck. Fucking 2 Acre like has a hoodie of that thing and all, like. If you're interested in my merch, the link's in the description to the fucking spring stuff. It says "What's the quack" on it, which is a take on what we say here in Ireland. The Irish people have a saying where it's like "What's the crack," which basically means "What's the story?" or "What's hello," like "What's hello," "What's up," or "Hello," or "How's things," or whatever. Like, you know, "What's the crack?" And I flipped it to "What's the quack" because he's a duck. And I like the hoodie was like pretty well received. Now they're expensive, you know, they are expensive. I can't deny that. Like, I don't like how expensive I have to make them to make a decent profit on them. But it is how it is when you're using spring. But yeah, fucking, I've got Gunduck, Buff Duck, his brother Buff Duck, which is another one of my favorite designs. This dude's hilarious looking. Just this jacked duck character, and he's got like a fucking cybernetic helmet on and all this shit. Like the storyline behind him is he was the really good looking handsome brother and he's all jacked and buff and shit, and then like somebody like fucks up his face, so he's kind of like the mountain from Game of Thrones after he gets poisoned, where he's basically just this mindless drone that does the bidding of shit, like, you know, but he's like this juggernaut thing, like. So there's Gun Duck, Buff Duck, and then Bitch Duck. Bitch Duck is the female assassin duck that's sent to kill Gun Duck, and then the two of them end up developing a relationship, because every time she tries to kill him, they basically end up having sex. You know, I was never going to like go into a graphic, you know, kind of like there wasn't going to be sex scenes with cartoon ducks. I was going to do the old like classic cartoon thing where they're like, you know, the two of them like meet in the middle and there's like a dust cloud with like a foot and a leg and all stuff coming out. Like, I was going to do funny stuff like that where they're like fighting and other people are watching, and then they like go out of view, and then people have to like walk around the corner, and when they walk around the corner they like catch them, like, you know, like she, you know, they're like kissing or something, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I thought it'd be hilarious, like, where like he ends up falling in love with the bitch who tries to kill him all the time, like. I'm not talking about you. That was excellent timing. You alright? 2 weeks off? That's, yeah, more than enough, but like, did you? Oh my god. I know you're dramatic and all, like,
no,
but
I wasn't trying to be dramatic.
yeah, I know, but still,
really
yeah.
like,
But it is true though. You're exhausted. I mean, you have big fucking bags under your eyes and shit.
crying.
I'm so tired all the time. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the iron. Is it my tired? Like,
God love him. Like,
he was just like, take it here.
Are you okay?
Are you alright?
Yeah, I just think I need until Friday to just, you know.
Take till next Friday.
I'm gonna give you 2 weeks. And I was like, okay. He's like, is that alright with you? I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Oh man, if I to be a female with a job, oh my god, like seriously, you just go into the doctor and be like, I'm tired. There you go. Here's 2 weeks off. Like, fucking hell. I know. I'm just taking a piss. Oh god. What? Yeah, okay. Well, go rest while I entertain the Japanites. I am weird. Dude, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. I mean, look at me. Interesting riff, consciousness versus the ego. Thank you. Fucking... Yeah, it would appear people, at least some people occasionally don't mind listening to my random ramblings. But yeah, that stuff fascinates me. The difference between your ability to compute things and like just be a biological creature that is aware and conscious, and you can like use your computational power to follow things like logic and reasoning and rationality, and like, but then there's the ego. It's like, but I feel like, do you know what I mean? Like, and like, I had this thought the other day, right? Do you guys? I find this fascinating, where typically what is said is I feel sad, right? Now in a language like Irish, right, Oscailge, what you would say is Tá Brón Orm, which actually directly translates more to I have sadness upon me, kind of thing, or sadness is on me, right? It's the same with anger, same with, like, that's how it's expressed in Irish, and I've heard it's like that in Jesus Christ.
Never again.
Yeah, Gray's a bitch when you're talking about sweat patterns. The way we express it is funny to me, because it's like a feeling. You feel stuff. That's a sensory thing. That's sensory stimulation. You know, like literally is like, this fan is made of wood. It feels hard. Phrasing. It's like, this feels hard. That's what she said. And then you switch to the fabric and it's like soft, but it's still kind of grainy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you ever do that thing where you can mentally think of something?
I need.
Yeah, right. I didn't think you'd want to show your face. Because you're like, oh, I'm in bits.
Do you want to?
Yeah, fuck it. Just fucking hold on. I'm gonna pull a you when I'm asking you if you're making more tea. Like, yeah, I want more tea. And then she drinks 3 fucking quarters of the thing I only made her about 20 minutes ago. Like, I don't want to waste it. Like, you know, it's good coffee. Don't burn it. Right. Put the milk in first. Then the honey, then the coffee. What? What?
Probably last time not to put the milk in first because it made it too cold.
Yeah, but like, you have to put the right amount of milk in.
Oh, give over.
You have to do it right, Emma. I do everything right for you. I do everything right for you.
I do everything.
I was exaggerated and you know it. Busted number 9 Austria. Corbett is like, no, I haven't been looking at the map. Fuck you. Yeah, the way we describe shit like that, right? It's like, you know, I feel sad. It's like, but you're not feeling sad. You're like, sad's not a thing. It's a concept. Oh, glorious Geppo. That's what happens when you fucking neck a pint of coffee. You don't feel sad. Do you know what I mean? It's like the sensation isn't sadness. The culmination of the sensory stimulus that you're experiencing in that moment is what we call typically sadness or anger or, you know, whatever. But what you're actually feeling is like, you know, choked up. If you're sad, you're gonna a tightness in your throat. Your eyes begin to leak. We call that crying. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's actual things that you do feel that we then associate with the concept of sad, right? But we don't. It's not a thing you can actually feel. Like, do you know what I mean? And that's it's very, very similar, I think, if not exactly the same as identity politics. Where you have these people as like, I'm a leftist, I'm a right, I'm a whatever, like, you know, I'm a liberal, I'm a fucking whatever, like, I'm a gobshite. I think it's the same thing where when you go, I am angry, I am sad, you are saying, you are speaking, you are spelling with your breath, with your inner power, that you are that in that moment. So you are identifying as sadness or depression. I am depressed, you know. I am angry. I am lonely. I mean, lonely, bit of a weird one because you could actually, like, I'm lonely, and like you're the only nigga for like 10 miles. Like, it's like, yeah, nigga, you're lonely. Like, but you see it, like, you know, I know some, like, I know pretty much all of you listening right now understand where I'm coming from. It's not like a really fucking out there. It's like, it's exactly like identity politics. It's like the way we identify and like express and associate with our ego, with the emotion, with the feeling in quotes. It's not feeling, in my opinion. I believe that to be an inaccurate assessment of the situation. An accurate assessment of the situation is like when I'm angry, I can feel the anger, but I am not angry. You know, I have anger. If anything, the anger is not. That's an interesting one, actually. The way I see it is, I have anger in my possession at that time. But the way we say it is almost like you are anger and you're possessed by it, you know? Whereas, like, the way I would, like, describe it is like, oh, I have sadness upon me. It's almost like I'm covered in goo. I'm like, ugh, get this icky feeling off me, right? Which makes sense because a lot of people, their body language totally changes when they're, like, anxious or sad or any of these things, like, you know? And you, like, need to, like, ugh, you know, Taylor Swift, like, shake it off, you know? and there's truth in that, because that's what animals do after they like survive being attacked or hunted or whatever. You see videos like this on Tom Barnett was talking about the other day with your man. Like, I've seen that years ago, where an antelope will escape a chase, and then will fall to the ground, wait a while, and then will look like it's having convulsions or some kind of fit or seizure, right, for about 60 seconds. And then it'll just walk it off. And what it's doing is it's releasing the tension in the nervous system. And I believe that, like, Chinese and Japanese, like, or even, like, some other cultures, like, I don't know, like, something even, like, I'm trying to think of, like, do you know, when people think martial arts, they mainly think Asia. Probably, you know, like, Africa kind of have their own, the Africans kind of have their own fighting style, you know, very brutal and tribal and fucking. Do you ever see them lads that, like, the way they fight is they wrap one arm up in rope and they just fucking, like, go for each other, like, there's an expression there, you know, where it's like, in order to release tension in the body, like, this is spoken about a lot in stuff like Shaolin and shit, like, in order to release tension in the body, you must be aware that the body is an alchemical machine. Like, the body goes through processes, you know, just like we imbibe something or we, like, ingest something or whatever like that, like, and then there's, like, a process, and then it is, there's a consequence to the process, there's a result, and you can call it waste, you can call it whatever, like, the same thing happens with other stimulus. So if you're sad or angry, or, and depending on how sad or how angry, something has to happen for you to, like, go through that instead of hanging on to it. And I think that's what's wrong with most people, is, like, they're energetically, like, stuck. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're clogged up with energetic, spiritual, mental impressions and, like, scars and stuff. And that's where you get all this talk of, like, oh, you have to do your healing, you know, like, conquer the shadow. Yes, it sounds like an utter load of tripe, but if you actually, like, take it for what they're saying on a, like, a logical level, like, on a just purely, like, utilitarian level, you find yourself in a position where you're like, you start to see why people could be atheist or nihilistic, because you start to see the cold reality of, like, all these alchemical processes and all this shit, and that you're in control of it and all, like, for the most part, you know. You're definitely heavily influenced by a lot of things. But then beyond that, you start to come to the realization, it's like, hold on a minute, well, like, if this all works the way it works, then there has to be some sort of grand design, or grand designer, or grand designers, you know, because of the way everything works, because of the patterns, you know. And to harpen back to what I was saying earlier on, oh, guys, Kipple, I don't think it necessarily takes intellect to be aware and realize all this shit. I think it just takes honesty. And I think we live in a time where being honest, for a lot of people, is exceedingly difficult because of how much fear they have around being honest. Like, on a fundamental level, you know? Not just being like, yeah, I robbed that chocolate bar, or, like, yeah, I cheated on my missus. I mean, like, honest with yourself, within your own mind, you know? It creates such a dissonance in a person when they're lying to themselves. That's why I love what Owen says about that stuff, where it's like, and apparently it says it in the Bible as well, where, like, if you're, like, a murdering, you know, merciless tyrant, but you're honest, then there's, like, almost like a karmic balance to that, where that's why God allows people like that to exist. The reason why a really high level villain is a thing in our stories, and the reason why that high level villain has all these, like, henchmen and grunts, is because the really high level villain is performing an alchemical process. He's testing the hero, you know, on an alchemical level. He's testing the ego, you know. Like, that's why I think it should be. Anyway, when you have a movie like John Wick, it's fairly dark, because it's like, he basically goes on a murdering rampage because they killed his dog and stole his car, you know, which is like hilarious and like kind of badass in a way, like, do you know what I mean? But it's also the most like gamma fucking impulsive low level discipline like thing to do, like, do you know what I mean? Like, his wife's already dead. He's like a fucking highly trained assassin, one of the best allegedly. Now, someone like that wouldn't react like that to something like that happening. It just doesn't correlate. Because somebody who's like a living weapon, who's just like paid to fucking murder people, wouldn't have a wife. Like, do you know what I mean? This concept of like, he's like the most dangerous dude on the planet. He could kill 10 men with a pencil. And it's like, he has a very happy relationship with a totally normal woman. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, do you know what I mean? The type of guy who's like an ex-Green Beret who like got into private military contracting and ends up becoming like, you know, a fucking, you know, essentially like a wet work blacklist assassin and stuff, like, doesn't have a really nice house in the countryside with a fucking wife. Like, do you know what I mean? This dude isn't on any register. He doesn't exist. That's why they're called grey men. Like, that nigga doesn't have a normal life. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not a normal human. Like, this idea of being like, that's why I like the movie Nobody. Like, that's pretty much as real as you can get with that kind of thing. Where, like, yeah, he can handle himself. He could totally kick the shit out of a bunch of fucking hooligans on a bus. You know what I mean? He's former military. He's got some connections. He's really good with a gun. He knows tactical shit. And, like, he's retired and he's got a family. Like, do you know what I mean? But he doesn't then, like, you know, do the thing of, like, I'm going to walk into a nightclub with fucking 10 guns and murder everyone to the fucking beat of the music. Like, you know, it's like, it's very gritty and real, like, which is why that movie is good. And I'm not saying John Wick is bad, but it's like, when you look at action movies like that, it's kind of like, you know, like The Punisher and stuff, where you're like, this is so off the wall, like, you know, but it's supposed to be, it's a comic book, like. But I just think it's so funny when they bring this shit into real life, and you see all these people in like comment threads, you know, where they're like, you know, fucking these fucking larping gobshites that are like, you know, it's not actually, you know, like, it's, I don't even know how to word this, like, do you know what I mean? It's like you can just tell when somebody believes a lot of bullshit and thinks there's something, like, do you know what I mean? Which I try, like, my hardest, like, not to be, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I try my hardest to be, like, you know, honestly ignorant about shit. But then, honestly, like, informed and experienced about other things. Like I talk about guns like I know some shit, but I've give, like, all my experiences about shooting in real life one time. And I've played a shit ton of video games and watched a shit ton of, like, documentaries. So, like, I've visual, audible, and, like, read experience of, like, real and fantasy. And I've had, like, one real-life experience where I've actually held multiple different firearms. I've shot a pistol and I've shot rifles. I've never shot anything automatic. But I know some shit. And that's why people who are, like, genuinely know loads of shit about guns would hear me talk and be like, yeah, that's right. No, that's wrong. But then when they correct me, I'm not, like, you know, egotistical about it. I'm like, oh, is that what it is? Awesome. Because now I know the truth, you know? And that's all I want to know, is, like, I just want to know the truth about shit. Which is probably just an early life fucking thing as well, like, because I was surrounded by so many lies in my own family and stuff. It's like, again, that, I think, is fundamentally what's wrong with everyone, you know? You have all this shit that happens to you when you're young, and you don't know how to process any of it alchemically, you know, consciously. So you're left in a infantilized, what's the term? Arrested development state. So you rely on the government for everything, which allows them to turn most people into drones or sheep or NPCs, whatever you want to call them. Assets. You know, like, that's how I look at it, like, do you know what I mean? Because as far as I can tell, that's how they look at it. You know? I mean, that's, like, I look, like, the military is essentially how all this works. The way I look at it, like, you know, because the military-industrial complex is what keeps the governments, like, in power and running and stuff. So that's how I see all this, is like leverage, access to resources, and like calling people's bluffs and stuff like that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if one like group of terrorists turns around and is like threatening to like overthrow a fucking village or some shit and throw out the local military, like, it's like, are they actually going to do that and stuff? So the first thing you do is like you just send some dudes to like scout out the situation, or like, you know, it's like, it's all about just like profit and loss and like cost efficiency, like risk and reward, you know. I mean, like the whole idea of like, you know, war and shit like that breaking out properly and stuff, like, I think is, at this stage now when I look at it, like, it's hilarious the way it's called the theater of war, because it is, it's just like, okay, we're gonna meet up here and we're gonna fucking throw loads of fire and brimstone shit at each other in a really dishonorable way, where like, oh Christ, get poo. Like the amount of collateral damage and all, like, do you know what I mean? Like when two dudes used to have a duel over their honor in a field, like it was only those two dudes that got harmed. Typically, I mean, I'm sure there was some case somewhere of two dudes having a duel, and maybe, you know, there's an argument or a disagreement in the middle of the duel or some shit like that, and somebody else gets hurt. I don't fucking know. I'm talking about swords, not pistols. You know, there's probably way higher likelihood of like someone being in the background and just being like, "Pow!" and they're like, "Ooh!" Like, now that would be hilarious if you had the misfortune of attending your master's duel and you just happen to stand in the wrong spot and your master has such a bad aim that he ends up shooting you. Like, or like the other guy's master, like you're standing behind your master off to the left and the guy he's dueling is so shit that he shoots you. Like, oh god, that'd be so funny. Like, yeah, your master turns around to you and you're like bleeding on the ground from being shot in the gut, and he turns around to you and is like, dear God, where would I be without you? You saved my life. You literally took a bullet for me. Like, you're getting steak tonight. Like, if you survive, your family will never want for anything. That'd be so funny. Anyway, but I've combined my dreams into the ultimate goo with this idea. Yeah, I know, yeah, like that's why I was talking about Thomas Elliot and shit. I'd love to do a battle scene with the ducks and the turtles. I don't have like another group, but I have one character. I can't see him because the map is up in the way. I had one character that I made ages ago, right after the duck, that I really like and I think is fucking hilarious. And it's a great white shark with like jeans and boots and a fucking set of knuckle dusters, and he's like carrying a big LMG, kind of like this thing, big buff great white, and he's like got no neck, like, do you know what I mean? It's just like a great white's head on like a bodybuilder. Like, and he's got piercings and shit. He's all blinged up, and one of his teeth is gold, but it's not like a shark's tooth, it's like a human's tooth. Like, so he's like, he's got all these sharp teeth, and then one of his teeth is gold, and it's pure like rectangle looking with a dollar sign on it. Is like, he's not even like, it's not very well done. Like, I did it really quickly and sketched it really quickly and shit. Like, and the paper he's on is like bet to fuck because of where I ended up keeping it. But he's just one of those sketches that I did where I was like, that idea, I really loved that idea. I wanted to give him like kind of like a similar voice to like Bane from The Dark Knight. Or it's The Dark Knight Rises, is that one that was? I can't fucking remember. But like Tom Hardy's Bane. But like try and voice it as if you've got no lips. Do you know what I mean? Like, as if you can't use your lips, because like a shark, don't get me wrong, their teeth can move up and down because of the way their jaw works, but like a shark basically has like no lips, like, do you know what I mean? They wouldn't be able to like la 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 la, like, you know, like, so it'd just be like, ah, like everything is said, like, it'd be like really funny to try and do the dialogue for that character, because you can't see like, so we meet again. Like, it's trying to voice the thing as if you just have to, your teeth constantly have to be out, like. Oh god. And then like the thing, you know the way great whites, like, it's like similar to chickens where they just have black eyes, and because the eyes are on the side of their head, they look brain dead to a degree. Do you know what I mean? They look like soulless creatures because they don't have this, like, you know, emotional content to the eyes. And I wanted to like keep that in the character, like, so he's always kind of just like, he's never looking directly at you. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Ooh, she put foam in it. Glorious. Ah, glorious. Little bit.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah, you just suck at making coffee, like.
It's not burned.
That's, it doesn't taste burned, but it, I don't know. How much honey do you put in it? Not enough, anyway. Oh god, I need to trim my mustache. My mustache is like holding enough liquid to fucking drown my ass. I want to see a tactical turtle in a mech suit. Well, we kind of came up with that idea there the other day, where it was a 2acre or you that was like, I want to see a fucking tactical turtle like on a fucking, what was it, a heron or some kind of bird with like big long legs and shit. I think that's a brilliant one. A land, sea, and air attack turtle, like mech suit thing. For anyone who knows of the game franchise Mech Warrior, there was this thing that I used to love playing as, but it was like ridiculous because it was so difficult because of the context of the situation. So Mech Warrior was this game where it was a video game started on PC where you could customize and play as these huge robots, these huge piloted mechs that people were using in the 31st century to like wage war across the galaxies. There was a it's not a mech, it's a suit. But there's a suit in that called the elemental suit. And it's basically, it'd be like 10 feet tall or something, like, you know, it's kind of like an Iron Man thing. It's like an Iron Man situation where like all these guys are walking around piloting mechs that are like, I think the smallest mech in like Mech 1, I think Mech Warrior 2 is like the earliest I can remember. So the smallest mech that I know of that I can remember that's actually still a mech in Mech Warrior 2 was something called the Puma, or like the Cauldronborn, or the Shadow Cat. They were literally like light mechs. They were tiny for mechs. They were still huge in comparison to a person. Like the smallest mech is like easily still the size of a building. You know, like a 2-story house. They're like the smallest ones are like 30 feet tall, huge guns. You know, but then you're looking at the biggest one. One of the biggest ones is called the Atlas, and it's like 100 feet tall and like fucking 50 feet wide or some shit. Like, it's huge. Weighing in at like 150 tons or some shit. But the elemental is basically like an Iron Man suit. And I loved trying to like take on mechs in the little Iron Man suit thing. Like, because if you get shot once and you just get vaporized. Like, do you know what I mean? But you're really hard to hit because you're tiny, you know, like, so they typically have to use stuff like lock-on missiles or like machine guns or like a giant shotgun or something, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was just there's something appealing to the whole David and Goliath thing where like you're this like tiny thing, like that happens a lot in video games and boss fights where you're this tiny thing on screen, you're trying to kill this huge thing, and like what's keeping you alive is your superior agility and like special powers or whatever. Like, I love shit like that. It's an underdog fight, like, you know. But in Wick 1, he had gotten out prior to the dog killing. Oh, did he? Is that what it was? I suppose. Yeah, he was just living on his own because he'd gotten out, he'd married her, then she died of cancer, left him with the dog. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Oh, gross. It's just kind of like don't get me wrong, like obviously Wick is like fantastical as fuck in a lot of ways, but then in other ways it isn't, because like I'm telling you now, there's definitely like the what's that thing called, the Continental. There are well, I can't say definitely. I would bet money that stuff like that exists, where there are buildings, not necessarily a big swanky hotel, but there are buildings that people will frequent that, like, you know, it's like a front. It's like, oh, this is just like a laundromat or a spa or a fucking, you know, cement mixing business or some shit. But, like, every so often you'll see a group of lads, like, show up and meet in, like, one of the rooms, and you're like, who the fuck are they and what are they doing here? Like, and they're just, like, grey men. Do you know what I mean? Like, they used to work for the government, or, like, they worked for the, you know, they were hired by the government. Because you get shit like that where, like, dudes never actually end up contracting or working for directly the government or the military, but they, like, work their way to go up in the private sector as, like, a merc or some shit. And, like, typically you'd have to, like, you know, do some training with some nation's army or military or some shit to, like, be able to actually get proper training. But I'm telling you now, there's some dudes out there who are just, like, totally self-made, at least for the most part, you know, like, dudes who are, like, you know, old school hunters and shit, you know, are already miles more dangerous than a lot of your, like, modern average Western trained soldier. Like, a lot of it's just, like, you know, fucking, you know, a lot of it's just endurance. A lot of it's just, like, embrace the suck, you know, because that's not gay at all. They get them to, like, you know, they attempt to make them very mentally resilient to, like, extreme conditions and stuff like that, but they also turn them into, like, mindless killing drones for the most part. But you have the other guys who are, like, they see fighting or hunting or killing a man no different to, like, a deer. Do you know what I mean? Where, like, that's how I would approach it. Like, if I had to kill a man, I'd be like, okay, like, what is a human male capable of? What does a human male need? You know what I mean? Like, I would approach it like that. I'd be like it's prey, you know, like, and I am the predator. Where it's like, where does he frequent? What does he rely upon? Where does he get these resources? Like, do you know what I mean? You'd scope him out and shit. Like, you might not even need to fight him. Like, you could just fucking, like, snip his fucking, what are they called? The brake lines or some shit on the right day when he's going down the right road. You know, like, that's why I love playing Hitman. Like, you know, like, those situations where you're, like, scoping out the fucking target on a mission, and you're like, okay, he goes in there, he does this, and he talks to, oh, I could just poison that fucking bottle of water there and sort it. Like, you know, there's loads of cool things like that in Hitman. I always just go in guns blazing. Like, I've said this before, that, like, I'm gonna start putting up my playthroughs of Hitman, because, like, the way I do them sometimes is literally like pretty much like a scene out of John Wick, where I just walk in like a fucking RoboCop and just, like no emotion, just like blam 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 blam, boom 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 boom, knife blam blam, like, just make your way to the target. Like, and it's hilarious because the way the game works is, like, if you, like, bust into a room and the target's there and they've got, like, 7 bodyguards, and you're like blam 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 blam, and there's the target that you're there for is the only one left, and you're just standing there holding the gun. Typically they go like, oh, and they run. Like, and then, so I've got recordings of me just, like, butchering my way to the target, butchering the guards, and then just standing there looking at them, and then the target, like, legs it. So then I just walk after them through the whole map, butchering anyone who gets in my way while they're, like, looking behind their shoulder like, he's gonna kill me. Like, it's hilarious. It's some of the funniest shit ever, especially the way it's animated and stuff. Like, it's fucking brilliant. Like, some of the things they say, like sometimes you'll just, like, you know, somehow manage to get into the room where the target is, like, you know, without anybody noticing. You just stand there and wait for them to turn around, and then they turn, like, they had a piece of paper or something in their hand because they're, like, you know, doing an animation or some shit in the room, like, and they'll turn around and you're standing there and they're like, who are you? What are you doing here? And you just whip out a pistol and they're like, oh my god. Like, it's quite real, but it's also hilarious because it's very not real in some other ways. Like, it's fucking funny shit, man. Ah, Dick Fordu, Grifu, welcome to Paintingu. Wrecked him, damn near killed him. all I played was Mech Warrior and Armored Core boss games. Man, the original Armored Cores were so difficult. I couldn't get into them when I was a kid. I found them so difficult. Even the controls, everything like. Well, there's a reason why Armored Core has kept its cult following. Like the recent release of Armored Core 6. That looks incredible. I'd love to play that. Looks really cool. I love the really like fast-paced, high skill ceiling, customizable content shit. Like it's such a fucking male nerd thing to make your own battle mech and then like duel it with other dudes who have made their own battle mech. Like it reminds me of like shit like Yu-Gi-Oh or Beyblade, where like you've your own deck, you know, or your own custom built I did that back in the day. Like I was big into Beyblade. I had fucking like 4 or 5 of them, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but they were expensive, and it's like all these parts and stuff like. And one of them in particular that I got was kind of cheating in a sense, because there was like 2 classes. There was classes that had plastic cores, so they were relatively light, and they would like fling all over the place when they crashed, when they hit each other. For those of you who don't know what a Beyblade is you know, a spinning top that you can just spin and it just spins till it falls over. They basically made spinning tops that had like what would you call them? Like plastic fairing and attachments to make them look cool and look like little fucking buzzsaw blades. And then you had like a talisman, which is basically an image on a bit of plastic that represented the spirit core of your little Beyblade thingy. But they actually attached to a handle that had a cord that you could pull running through it, and it would spin them like fairly fucking quickly. And then you drop them into an arena. So 2 of you would like hold them over an arena, and you go 3, 2, 1, and pull. And you'd watch them in the arena like get close and bounce off each other and come back around and bounce again and all. Like really fucking cool for its time. Like, you know, whoever came up with that shit was a genius, because it was its own TV show and all sorts of shit. Like, but there was ones with plastic cores, so you can imagine they were fairly light, and there was ones with metal cores, right? And I remember the time that I got one with a metal core. I'd been playing against my friends. Like every Friday in school, we could bring toys in, and like play for an hour in primary school. Like every Friday was toy day, right? You know. And I remember bringing Beyblades in, and like some of the other kids had them and shit. We had an arena, and you'd like win some, lose some, you know. And a few weeks later, I got the metal core one, and I came in and I fucking wrecked everyone, because the thing was just way heavier. Like they were literally out of their weight class. It's the same size, you know, so it didn't look like, you know, a really big intimidating thing compared to those ones. But like, because it simply just had a heavier metal core, when their thing would come at it, it'd just be like, get the fuck, and it just like bounced them straight out of the arena. And I just remember all the kids being like, oh, that's not fair, like your thing's like mad dangerous, like you're after buying this like really like powerful one and all, like but it was like a known thing where it was like you shouldn't play against metal cores with plastic cores, and you know, vice versa and all, like, because it's not fair, you know, because they're literally like a totally different level. Like it was really cool when you'd have like a lot of metal core ones fighting in an arena, because like the metal ones had the weight and stability to take a few hits and keep spinning, so it would look and feel more like entertaining and competitive and shit. Like a lot of the plastic ones would just take one hit and fly off like a bit of shrapnel. It was really good toy, you know. Kind of not, I wouldn't call it dangerous, potentially, you know, but then like loads of toys are for kids. But those fucking metal core ones fucking hurt. If you when they're spinning in the arena, quite often people, even I did it as well. Quite often you'd drop and you go 3, 2, 1 and drop, right, and someone would like drop before or after, like, you know, not on time, and he'd be like, that's not fair. It's like a foul, you know. That's like a foul pull, and You have to try and get it like almost at the same time, like, you know, to make it fair. So if somebody fouled, you would instinctually try and like stop your Beyblade with your hat. You just grab it out of the arena. But with the metalcore ones, when they're like spinning and all, like, it fucking hurt if you grab them while they were still going full speed. Like, because I remember being like, oh, we'll start again, and then going to grab my Beyblade and being like, oh, like, especially if it hit your nail, you know. Like, you know that shit where, like, if something just hits the tip of your finger, like, it doesn't even need to hit that hard. It's like when something hits your ball sack. It's just because that's where your sensory stimulation, you know, input is, like, the highest. If something just, like, flicks that real hard, you're like, ah, motherfucker. Like, it was a cunt. Like, it was so brilliant toys, though. Fucking brilliant. Right, there's my Beyblade rant. Florida has meth warrior named Panther. What the fuck? There's a guy in Florida called Panther, and he's a meth warrior. Oh, that's hilarious. Imagine putting that on your resume. Oh, I was a meth warrior for 9 years. Like, got the scars to prove it. You got the smile to prove it, probably. Like, he was out, got married. It just happened that the kids that killed the dog were the son of a top guy in the organization he had left. Oh yeah. Just so happens. That's fucking hilarious. It's so funny. Like, it is a brilliant scene where he's like, when the Russian gangster is talking to his son, and he's like, have you any idea who John Wick is? And he's like, you know nothing of a man like this. Like, fucking John Wick is a man of, what is it? John Wick is a man of singular purpose, conviction, sheer fucking will. And while he's saying that, it keeps just cutting back to John Wick, like, smashing the fucking floor open with a sledgehammer to get his guns out. Like, it's brilliantly done. Like, it is. It's very entertaining. But it's like retarded. Like, you know, like they did 4 of them in like what, 5 years or so. It's like Assassin's Creed. It's like, oh my god, that was some smash hit. Make another one. It's like, yeah, but now you're putting like gay shit in it, and I don't care anymore. Like, who's this fucking androgynous looking yoke? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't like that shit when they put a new, you know, girl boss bitch on the scene who looks like a fucking young boy, and then they have her go toe to toe with John in a fucking elevator. Like, you know, now obviously she loses, you know, which is, you know, what should happen. But like, even the fact that she can put up a fight for like 3 seconds, it's like, fuck off, really. Like, I don't like that when they use the clout of someone's social shit. When you have all these fucking mainstream retards going mad about the new person. And then they slap them in the new movie. Like, you know, it's like, what's another example of that? Like, you know what I'm on about, where they just shoehorn these new faces into franchises to give them their breakout movie or some shit, like, you know. And typically it dilutes the quality of the film when you say, because it's like diversity hiring, you know. It's like almost the same, where you're like, literally the only reason we're casting you in this is to like make you bigger, you know. It's like, no, you cast them in it if they're like perfect for the part, you know. Like, that's what casting is supposed to be. You're supposed to look at the story and the, you know, written version of the character and be like, okay, who in the current roster of actors that we have available to us would be perfect for this part, you know? But that's not what they fucking do a lot of the time. A lot of the time they're like, they'll get a fucking phone call from that cunt's agent, and it's like, look, I need to get her in this movie. What do we need to do? Does she need to suck a dick? What's going on? You know, like, let's just take the weekend, freebase a load of coke, and make some decisions, okay? Like, her name's going to be on the front. Her face is going to be plastered all over the magazines. She needs to be in this movie. I'm telling you now. Same with Pogs. Someone would come in with a giant heavy smasher and destroy all your new Pogs. Like, or marbles. Same thing with marbles, you know? It like different size marbles and stuff, and somebody would show up with this fucking behemoth and just be like, the marble version of fucking step aside, little girly man. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Oh god, I suppose I should do some painting. What you think? Do you think I should do some painting on the painting stream? We get some tunes going. Like every time I look at the painting, I'm just like, the wedding cake. The wedding cake is brilliant looking. Oh, I feel another glorious gap out working its way through my chest too. Okay, we went straight into raving you yesterday. And 2acre wasn't even here. How dare you? Glorious Gepu. I'm thinking funk. I'm kind of feeling the funk. But I've been using the funk a lot lately. Ooh, that was a tiny Gepu. That was an internal Gepu. You want me to keep ranting? Fuck the painting. Just keep talking. Like, the fro is good. I don't know. Like, I don't have anything else to rant about. Well, that's a fucking lie. I mean, like y'all know, I could sit here and talk for fucking 4 hours if I wanted, just about shite that's going on in my head. Like that fucking I can never remember the dude's name. Is it Serpenza, or I can't remember. Stabru, you know who I'm talking about. I seen a video there yesterday that I was like, oh, I want to check that out, and I never got around to it. But apparently there's these like just random violent attacks that are becoming like way more prevalent in China. Like, and shit like that always makes me laugh. I know it's not necessarily like, it is a dark thing to laugh at, but I think it's hilarious when you just see, I don't know why in particular, you know, it's probably because of the reputation they have culturally. But when you see what appears to be a kind of suburban or semi-rural Chinese person flip the fuck out and like attack someone with like, you know, a fucking like a huge kitchen knife or machete looking thing, like, you know, there's something more it's like rooftop Koreans, right? You know, when, you know, the first time you see the whole rooftop Korean situation, there's something about Asians. I think the Irish have something similar. There's something about certain cultures where you have like great art, great poetry, great sense of humor, really funny shit and all. Because the Asian, man, like Japanese game shows are some of the funniest things you'll ever fucking watch in your life. Like fucking Takeshi's Castle, like fucking brilliant. There's a point where all of that stops and it gets really fucking dark. And like other cultures don't necessarily have that disparity, that like juxtaposition, the contrast. Other cultures seem to like stay in one zone. You know, you don't think of Russians as like really funny people who'd be like great to hang around with, unless you were like really big into drinking and doing like fucking shots or something. Like, Russians are typically culturally seen as like hard, cold, you know, resilient, fucking like dogmatic, because like, you know, millions of them will die for a singular purpose and all this shit, whether they want to or not. You're not like, you don't see, and that's not to say Russians can't be funny, like, do you know what I mean? But it's like, it's the in general typical vibe, you know. But we've all seen funny Chinese stuff, and we've all seen funny like Asian shit and all, like, but there's something about them when they get violent and they get dark, it's like a whole other level. And I think it's because you have like like, people have said it throughout history. It's like, oh, the Irish, they're fucking crazy. Like, you know, there's no way you can conquer them and all. Like, because there's an element of genuine chaos. It's like, it's not, like, we don't fear chaos. We, like, to a degree, we embody chaos, you know? But it's weird, because, like, we have an intense reverence and admiration for this island on a level that is, like, I'd say other cultures have, you know, where they're like, I love my country. But, like, Irish people, even people who, like, aren't, like, nationalistic or patriotic or whatever, like, Irish people love Ireland. There's, like, a love of this place. And it's, like, magical and all this shit and all, like, you know, but there comes a point where the humor and we're all having a laugh and we love drinking and fighting, like, do you know what I mean? It's like there's an acceptance, and it probably is, like, a result of, like, history and stuff like that, because, like, you know, like I said, the Japs have the same thing, you know, very theatrical, very, like, you know, out there and stuff like that, but when they hit that switch, everybody knows what samurai are and how dangerous they can be, how highly disciplined, like, they'll literally kill themselves if they fail their mission. That's, like, you know, suicide bomber shit. There's, like, there's a similarity there, and I think it's very old, very, very old culturally, where you have these, like, these places that were probably at one point extremely chaotic and violent and volatile and, like, unreliable and dangerous, and because, like, you know, Ireland used to be fucking an island full of different kings and stuff, so I'm sure there was lots of infighting and shit. And, like, if we were just fighting with fucking sticks and blue paint, then you can only imagine the type of brutality that would ensue if you had a bunch of people, like, who didn't like each other and they were like, no, our king's better than your king or whatever, like, or fuck the McLaughlins or whatever. Well, that's more Scottish. It would have been very similar, though. It's like literally dudes who live, like, they live in the next, like, valley. You know what I mean? Like, they literally live in the next glen or whatever the fuck we want to call it. Like, and you guys, like, hate each other. There's a weird realness to that shit where, like, it's like Irish people and, like, Japanese, Chinese, what would it be? I think Indians to a degree as well. Which there's some really interesting historical connections between India and Ireland, and our flags are extremely similar. You know, that's another sign, some gravy there. But there's this really old cultural acceptance of chaos, and the awareness of, like, the inevitability and the purpose, the natural law purpose, the necessity of chaos, where, like. And I think that's what the Romans were on about. I think that's what, like, psychiatrists were on about when they were talking about the Irish. It was like, oh, you can't psychoanalyze them, and Rome couldn't conquer Ireland and all this stuff. It's like, that's why you look at Irish people and think they're magical and all this stuff, is because we have wisdom that's really old. And the really old wisdom is the natural wisdom of, like, shit happens. And there's nothing you can do about it. Except accepting shit happens, you know? It's like a lot of cultures, I think, developed this idea, this kind of Jewish mentality of, like, that's wrong, we need to do something about it. When the reality is, the truth is there's some things that will never change, and that's because God made them so. You know? Whatever God is, whatever God you pick, like, do you know what I mean? The gods, plural. You'd look at situations and be like, yeah, well, there's nothing we can do about that. We just have to accept it and move on, like, you know? Whereas the other one is, like, the victim mentality of, like, the gods have forsaken us and something bad has happened to our culture. We need to move. We need to go this way. And because we need to do that, we came in contact with another culture and all this fucking shit. Like, from what I've seen, the Celts, you know, one showed up in Ireland at some point. They didn't originate in Ireland, but then again, who the fuck did originate in the spot where they are? You know, like, the further the more you go back, the more you see that like every known culture and nation is a result of a migration from some other place. And that's why I think there's lots of gravy in Antarctica and the ice wall and all this shit, because it's like, I think there are grand seasons, you know. You don't just have spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. You also have like a grand spring, a grand summer, a grand fall, and a grand winter. And I think a grand winter is the giant, you know, the outer ring moving. And that's how you get ice ages, you know. And allegedly, from the last ice age, from the last big winter, oh, glory skipper. There was these two lads called Dan and Sven, and fucking pretty much all of civilization fucking descended from their two tribes that they came down from Antarctica with, you know. They came through a gap in the ice after existing in a pocket where they were able to, you know, create a habitat, and they survived being surrounded by ice, and they found a way through the ice eventually and found this place, which sounds like what Admiral Byrd did in Operation High Jump, you know, where he went back, he went the opposite way, he went from here to there and went over the wall and found all these other continents. He probably found where they came from, you know. And I think the way this works is like, it's just like a circle within a circle within a circle, and the inside circles move around the inside, the smaller circles move within the big circle. And when we look at an ice age or whatever, it's like there's probably one coming, you know. Maybe we're like, I mean, according to mainstream history, we only recently in the last couple of thousand years got out of one. But what if there's another one coming, you know? What if like I've said before on the stream that like I think roughly how all this is going and why all this is happening is like, I think there's like a time limit to how, I think there's like a time limit to being able to live in any given location in this realm, like in the grand realm, or just where we are, what we call Earth. And I think because everything eventually moves, you know, nothing ever stays. It's all temporal. It's all temporary. Even if it looks permanent, you know, like a fucking boulder that's been there for like hundreds of years. Like my granddaddy, like put a mark on that boulder. Like, you know, it will eventually not be there, or it will eventually be a lot smaller, or it'll eventually be two boulders instead of one, or something. Shit changes. Just takes time. So like, I don't see why it wouldn't be possible that like you just have cycle after cycle after cycle of like, oh shit, it's getting too cold to survive, we need to move, right? And like what we call the Garden of Eden was just like the last time we remember collectively or whatever, or the last time we have recorded of being in balance, perfect harmony with our surroundings. We didn't need to kill anything because we had the perfect temperature, perfect oxygenation levels, perfect, you know, we were near fresh water. There's trees everywhere that bore fruit, bushes that bore fruit, fucking vegetables coming out of the ground. Like, it sounds totally feasible that you could have like just somewhere in the realm, you just have this pocket that is extremely abundant in resources. You know, just walk around naked, fucking making babies, fucking eating stuff. You know, maybe occasionally somebody would get jealous or have a fight and all. Like, you know, like it just sounds like, you know, easy. It's just easy mode. It's just like, oh, no worries, like, do you know what I mean? But then the cold comes and we're like, oh shit, like it's getting cold. Oh, now we need to put some clothes on, you know. Now we need to fucking kill this rabbit so I can wear its fur. And like, there's a reason why we ended up killing shit, you know. And I think there's a good argument that like that's where the whole Cain and Abel Noah thing comes from. It's like there are people who are like, no, I don't want to move. I want to stay here, even if it gets too cold. There's stuff I can do. I'm going to make a fire. I'm going to kill that deer. I'm going to do all this shit so I can stay here, right? Whereas other people are just like, we're just going to move. We're just going to pack up and move to where it's warmer, you know? Now, where the problem comes in is depending on what timeline and the location you're talking about. When you go to move, you could potentially move to your death if you don't know where you're going. You know, if you can't look at a map, or like, you know, if you don't innately know or know how to navigate, I mean, like that could be another thing. It's like, all right, how do we avoid, you know, reaching a coastline or some shit where it's like, well, how the fuck are we going to cross the ocean? Like, you know, it's like, and then you get boats and all that. Like, all it is to me, from what I can see, is just like levels of awareness and like adaptation, where it's like, okay, it's getting too cold now. Oh, now we're out of food or whatever like that. And it's just humans trying to survive in different scenarios. The problem, or the question that I have, is like, when did it start becoming like, were we forced out of balance or Eden or whatever by a cataclysm? Or was it a choice, or was it like a combination of the two, you know, kind of thing? It's just fascinating to think about, because it's like it makes so much fucking sense then why there would be all this conspiracy and government military fucking restriction shit all the way around the realm, because it's like they don't want you to know that if you have the know-how and the resources, you could just fucking leave. And there's more out there. And there's plenty of it, you know. So, and that's where like I have the theory that there are just other humans who have just left, you know, and like the guys who are in control of this place fucking hate them, because they've locked this place down for the most part, you know, as some kind of like pen where they just extract resources from the masses so they can live whatever way they want to live. And I'm more than likely aware that outside their jurisdiction is other communities and civilizations that long ago, or even not that long ago, were like, fuck you guys are demonic as fuck, we're just gonna fuck off, and they just left, you know. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if like all these like abduction stories and stuff like that, like I wouldn't be surprised if the reason the bishop and like John Kerry or whatever that fucker's name is go to Antarctica, like, it's the Antarctic Treaty, like all this shit. It's like all the countries fucking agree, where it's like, okay, yeah, we're not allowed to go past Antarctica. It's like, that to me sounds like the guys who were better than us, than our leaders at the time, either put them in a stalemate, or like straight up was like, well, if you try to follow us or you try to kill us, we're gonna fucking vaporize the lot of you. So just leave us the fuck alone. And like Antarctica is like the border, you know, where it's like, if you cross the ice wall, we will fuck you up because we hate you guys. There's a reason we left, you know. You guys are fucked up. And but there would be people in their community that would be like, hold on, like, could you imagine if they found out about us, you know, like what are their myths and legends and stuff? They're like, hold on, so you're telling me that there's like people we left behind when we migrated here or some shit like that? Like, you know, there'd be people trying to like come here and save us, you know, or some shit like. With marbles, someone would show up with a ball bearing and just. It's like, do you not think it's funny that there's like almost like an innate like desire in human beings when playing a game, it's always just a matter of time before somebody starts cheating. Like, a game is, you establish a concept and a parameter of like parameters and rules, you know, of the game, and you're like, okay, these are the rules, let's play it all. Like, and it's never long. You never have to wait long before somebody starts cheating, you know, where it's like, or not necessarily cheat, like rationalizing bending the rules or some shit, or like interpreting the rules in a different way, so that like everyone turns around and is like, oh shit, now we have to change that rule. Like, that's a lot of that is just society. That's what the government has to do. It's like, okay, we kind of have to make that illegal. Well, like, there's no point in making it illegal, because like this and this will happen. Like, it'll just go underground. It's like, yeah, but if we don't make it illegal, this will keep happening. It's like, that's that's really what a lot of this is. Like, you know, like Owen has said that before, but it's like, it makes sense. It's all based in consent. Your behavior dictates like what they're gonna do, you know. And then when they do something, it's like your behavior again is like the ball is in your court. It's like fucking take these vaccines, they're safe and effective, you know, there's a fucking pandemic going on, like, watch out and all, like, if you're not a complete bellend, you realized that, like, something just didn't feel right and something was up. There was like, what the fuck? It was like something out of a movie, like, do you know what I mean? And it is dark, but it's like the reality is like, like, how is it? Was it the president of Iran or something the other day? I can't remember who put this up. I think it was my friend Damo who sent me this. But there was a Bernard actually. I can't remember. Someone in the Irish Bear group put in that, like, I think it was the president of Iran said that, like, everybody who's taken the vaccines has been made homosexual. It's just brilliant. That's like glorious, like, you know what I mean? It's like, you vaccinated? Oh yeah, I got vaccinated. Ah, so you're gay. like in a metaphorical sense, it makes sense as well. It's like you allowed a stranger to penetrate your epidermic layer with a foreign material. You fag. Like, it's like, it is very, it's like, I know it's kind of harsh. It is kind of harsh. There's a lot of people who just, like, didn't know any better, thought they were doing the right thing, just doing what they're told, blah, blah. But, like, I've thought about that shit, and, like, honestly, like, there's been moments in my life where I made a decision or something happened, and it was a negative experience, and mollycoddling and having, like, have compassion, have empathy, but allowing a victim, because there are victims of things, you know, but allowing someone that is a victim of something in any given moment to develop victim consciousness, I think does them a disservice, you know. It's like, if somebody starts thinking and behaving as a victim, even if they have been victimized, do you know what I mean? Like, they've been, something has been done to them against their will. You should always, like, you know, if you have love for the person, if they're close to you or whatever, it should be like, look, yeah, fucking, that was fucked up, but, like, what you do now is what matters. Like, what are you gonna do about it? You know, it's like the bully situation. Like, when you're a father trying to educate your son or some shit, he comes home and he's like, oh, another boy, like, he's picking on me and I don't know what to do. Oh. And, like, the typical response is like, well, stick up for yourself, you know? If he says this, say that's a lie and this is the truth, you know? Like, speak your mind, you know? And then, like, kid goes back and then it gets physical. He's like, he hit me. It was like, okay, so we're going to learn how to fight now, okay? You know, like, so the next time he does this, what are you going to do? Wha-bam! Like, you teach the kid how to resolve the problem. You don't go, oh, poor you, you know, like, that's not your fault. You did nothing wrong, you know, blah, blah. Because, like, all that does is allow them to be open to more transgression. Do you know what I mean? You're not learning anything. You're not gaining any info. You just be like, oh, I didn't deserve that. And, like, random shit just happens to good people. And that's just bad. Like, you know, it's like, no, like, it should be like, okay, so you ended up in this situation and this happened to you. Okay. You're probably going to end up in a similar situation again at some point of your life. So next time you're going to be prepared, you know, like, that kind of thing. Like, I don't understand this whole, like, you know, oh, poor you. I mean, like, you must be, like, I think it's, like, demonic to, like, lean into somebody's despair with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, when somebody's like, what am I gonna do? I've lost my job, my wife's left me, I'm fucking the kids, like, oh, like, if you lean into that with him, you know, like, and you're like, I know, bro, this shit, like, fuck her, like, do you know what I mean? And you, like, you enable his, you know, woe is me vibe, you're destroying him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, you may as well be, like, fucking stabbing him in the back, you know, like, because you're not helping him at all. Like, what a person, male or female, needs in that situation, and is a reality check. granted, a compassionate, empathetic reality check. You don't want to be sitting there going like, fucking, stop crying, you bitch. You know, like, like if the dude's literally like his wife has left him and shit, like, you know, obviously depending on the context, like if he's been an absolute loser and you've been telling him the whole time, like, sure, probably, like, every so often turning around and being like, I told you, you pussy, is like warranted, you know, like, you know, but like that's how I think life should, like, how society should work, is like we should like be honest with each other and like test each other and like raise each other up, and like, you know, like if somebody is like getting beaten down in front of you, like, you know, let them take it to a point, unless it's like going overboard. Do you know, that kind of like, you know, two guys fighting and then it gets to the point where one of them is definitely basically lost and the other one's just pounding on him. Like, it's kind of like, okay, that's enough. It's no longer a fight. Now it's just a beating. It's the same thing with life, where it's like if you see somebody like facing something, like quite often, like Owen says with the whole like unwarranted, unearned wisdom and unearned money. Well, unearned get out of jail free card, your friends and family helping you survive situations, like, do you know what I mean, doesn't fucking help either. Like, do you know what I mean? This whole fucking, you know, like when you look at these fucking all these nepotistic families, and it's like they just got handed fucking Jaguars and fucking, well, daddy bought me a new car, you know, like you're not equipping your offspring for the real world at all, like, you know what I mean? And I do have a lot of pity for those people who've like never been punched in the face, never get told no, fucking never had to, like, you know, struggle through something to the point where they came to like tears over it, like, I can't fucking do this anymore, I'm so tired. Like, do you know, like even like I've watched Owen for years now, like, do you know what I mean, and watched his kids grow up and stuff, and how he is with his kids and shit, like, you know, and he's got such a beautiful family and he's trying to do things well, like, you know, and there's an element to me that looks at like people like Owen, where they're like, it's so wholesome, it's almost too wholesome. There's a part of me that's like, they're gonna be soft, you know, like, because like by the time they're like 18 or 20 or something, you know, I think the distance between the city and the rural, like the distance between the city and the rural is like always like shrinking, you know. The cities are always growing, inflating, you know, and I've experienced that myself, where like I grew up in a place called Lucan just outside Dublin, and like by the time I got out of there, like it felt like the city was like, felt like you could just literally walk into the fucking city. In a sense you could. It's weird, like it was no longer a thing of like, oh, going into the city centre, right, get a bus and blah blah, you'd be gone all day, like, do you know what I mean? Take you about an hour and a half to get in there, and traffic and all that shit, and then you'd be going around for a few hours, do shopping, get a bite to eat, blah blah, and then make your way home. It's a whole day thing, like, you know. But by the end there, like with the bus routes and the way everything was modernized, you could like walk right out of the housing estate, you know, and hit up a shop on the way, so you didn't even need to fucking wait to get in there. So you hit up a shop on the way, get fucking bite to eat, get on the bus right there. It's like 5 minutes from the fucking house, and that bus will take you all the way into fucking town, and it only takes about half an hour. And you're like, it's a bit weird. It starts to feel like the city is just coming closer, you know, like, and I always have that thought where I'm like, if all your kids know is like good, true, and beautiful, then like, is that like, are you doing the cycle of the whole strong men create you know, good times, which creates weak men, which create fucking hard times and all this fucking shit? Like, no, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen with Owen's kids, because like it's Owen, so like when they start to grow up, he's obviously going to be like, here, hold on a minute, like with certain things I could just tell that he's that kind of guy, you know, because of the way he's like dealt with everything. He's like tries to keep stuff as good and as good and as pure and as like honest as humanly possible, till it becomes kind of like impractical and neurotic and dogmatic to attempt to do that. Sometimes you have to be like, okay, look, shit's gonna get a bit dark, you know, like, So I think he'll handle that well. But I always see that in like wholesome shit where I'm like, careful now, you know, like you see all the like, man, life's so beautiful, it's so great, and like fucking kids, and like it's awesome. Look at this tomato, I grew it myself. It's like, yes, that is great. I fucking love that shit. Careful now, you know, like because it's like it doesn't stop. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not a doom guy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like oh, it doesn't matter. Like, it does. It totally matters. It's the culture war. It's the never-ending battle between good and evil, light and dark. Like, do you know what I mean? It's fucking transient, metaphorical, and all this fucking shit. It's great. To me, it's like the point of life is to take your place in the grand battle of like good and evil, you know, and to discern for yourself what that is. Like, you basically drop into this game and figure out if you're a good guy or a bad guy, and then play that role to the best of your ability. Like, think about it. Like, if you were like, say you were just born to be a fucking evil dickhead, you know, a really dangerous one. There would be certain times throughout your life where you're doing all this bad shit and killing all these people and, you know, fucking doing all this horrible stuff that negatively affects other people around you and all. Like, there comes a point where the evil inadvertently starts producing good. That's how this shit works. That's why the yin yang symbol has that, like, you know, it's got the big white part and the big black part, and the big white part has a tiny part of black and the big black part has a tiny part of white. Because like, as evil propagates, as it exists, as evil does evil, it inevitably creates good, because there's good people who see and experience bad, evil shit, and they go, that's not happening again. I'm going to do this now because that happened. So, like, it makes sense that God is like, no, yeah, walk away. You know, fucking, it's all consent based. So, like, but that's why I think Satan is referred to as like the grand deceiver, because like what is genuinely evil and malevolent is dishonesty, is peddling false reality, trying to convince people of lies. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because like two groups that, like, as horrifying as like violence and death can be, two opposing ideologies or cultures or groups clashing, if it's done with honor, can quite often, sure, a few people are going to die and it's going to be sad and all that shit, like, but given enough time and, like, you know, the right kind of attitude, just like two guys can become really good friends after having a fight, you can have two countries or like religions or whatever who gain a level of respect and understanding for each other through killing each other, you know? It's like that fucking thing in The Matrix Reloaded where fucking Neo goes into the tea room to meet, what's his fucking name? I can't remember his fucking name. The Chinese lad with the round sunglasses and the white thing in the tea room. You want to see the Oracle? I must apologize. For what? For this. Seraph. That's the nigga's name. Seraph. When he turned, he's like fucking the whole thing of like, oh, I needed to know if you were the one. Well, you could have just asked. It's like, you only truly know someone when you fight them. It's so fucking true. You know? It's so fucking true. Because when you're in, like, you're not gonna behave. You're not gonna be, like, in a fight, especially to the death, but in a, like, see, some people can behave as if they're actually going to die in a scenario where they're gonna walk away injured potentially, but the chances of them dying is quite low. But their ego's gonna die. That kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like if they lose this fight, they won't be dead, but they'll want to be dead because their ego will be dead. Because their ego gets killed. And like, that's what I've said it before, where like I think I have an advantage over your average person in a lot of ways mentally, because like my ego got killed like real young, you know. And I think that like is a big part of conquering this whole arrested development, traumatized, you know, constantly in fight or flight survival mode. I think that's a big step in that, where like you conquer essentially what is like, you know, your childish interpretation of self. You know, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. It's like, well, you can only really say that you are this and that when you've like proven it, you know, tangibly. Like, I am an artist. I can say that, you know. I am a painter. I am an artist, you know. I am funny, you know. Like, I am not a comedian. That kind of thing, you know. Like, it's like experience and failure quite often results in the ability, if you are honest about it, to actually, you know, gain authority and titles as you earn them. Do you know, it's like, it just makes so much sense when you just like think it out, instead of like all, like, it's literally all backwards the way we get brought up. Like, you know, do what you're told and obey the rules, and don't ask too many questions, and don't fuck with anyone, even if people fuck with you, and like, and even if we lie to you, it's for your own good, and all this fucking shit. Like, and that's what it is to be a good person, and go to college and all this fucking stuff. And then you go to do all that, and none of it fucking works, you know? And like, typically it actually does work, but for the people who genuinely become vacated drones, you know? And you can see it and feel it and all when you're in like, in their presence, you know, somebody who just, all they talk about is mainstream news or some kind of sport or celebrity or some shit. Like I was talking about at the start of the stream, there are people who aren't actually alive because they've identified with things and feelings and concepts. So as far as they're concerned, who they are is a leftist, gay, fucking troglodyte. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and then you see them and you interact with them. And like, quite often what you'll like literally experience is like, okay, so like, you're just a stupid, broken coward, you know? It's a lot different than like the identification of like, I'm a liberal, gay, vaccine enthusiast, you know? It's like, no, you're like a retarded coward, fucking, and you're really ill. Like, it's like, literally see shit like completely differently to them, like, you know, where it's like, I'm at this, and this, and it's like, oh, so you're at that, and that. Huh, interesting. You know, like, at least I can like accurately categorize you. Like, it's like, and then they'll be the people who's like, you know, oh, you're a fucking sexist, homophobe, fucking racist, fucking all the buzzwords, all the fucking, you know, like, they'll complain about you putting them in what you have discerned to be the proper, like, slotted, allocated category of, like, you're that kind of person. And then they will categorize you as a lot of pejoratives as they complain about you having categorized them as something. You know, like, how dare you categorize me, you fucking fascist, racist bigot. Like, this is sort of shit, like, when I like think it out, like, you know, in real time and say all this stuff, I'm like, this is like utterly ludicrous hypocrisy. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know that like those people, like, you know, I don't know what the context is. There's just this famous clip of this woke, really ugly looking female, and she's like wide-eyed and like furious. She's like, you know that, you know, when somebody gets so angry they start like clenching their jaw and shit. They're like, ooh. There's a really famous, like, she went viral. She's like wearing glasses, she's real androgynous looking, clearly like, you know, woke as fuck. And she's like, you know, looking at I can't remember what she was freaking out about, but it's like, how sad it is to look at someone like that and be like, oh, like, you know, fucking, I totally get why you're like that, and like if only you could see the forest through the trees, like you'd probably be like a totally content, happy individual. Like, but instead you're like wound up in all of this fucking transient, superficial, conceptual, made up shite, and it's causing you an insane amount of stress and pain in your life. And like anyone who tries to fucking argue with you or show you a different kind of lens, you just fob off and demonize them and shit. And it's like, could you imagine if you got yourself caught in a fucking pit and everyone who tried to throw a rope down or like shout down to you and teach you how to build a ladder out of your fucking like t-shirt and jeans or something, like, do you know what I mean? Anyone who tried to help you, you were just like, fuck off, bigot. Like, and they're like, okay. And they like, everybody was like walking past this pit and they're like, oh, how did you get down there? Do you need help? You know, like, it's just immediately like, fuck you. It's like, yeah, but you seem to be caught in a sticky situation. Perhaps you should like, fuck you, bigot. I don't need your help. Fuck the patriarchy. I'd get a rope ladder that had patriarchy written on every rung. Like, as she's climbing up the like, just patriarchy. Oh fuck. Oh man, I don't know how those people live. Like, fuck that. Like, could you imagine waking up every morning with that much like disdain for humanity in your heart? Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, do you know, I'm the type of like, you guys know from watching the stream that like I have moments where I you know, if I was in charge, I'd kidnap all the women and children from a place and then just glass the place because, like, fuck these psychos. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and, like, they're way worse. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they say mad shit. Like, you know? Like, I've seen some of the wildest things written in comment, like in chats and stuff like that, like especially recently. Like, there's this thing going on with a gamer streamer called Dr. Disrespect, where he may or may not have engaged in inappropriate communications with a minor, and just the shit that somebody said. Like, even the trolls, even the guys who are like, like straight up, you can just tell it's like so over the top that it's just a troll. You're kind of like, how have you got access to a computer? Like, you know, like, there are some people whose behavior is so off the wall that I would argue that like the police should be able to just ping your IP address and just pull you out of your fucking house and lock you up for the rest of your life. Like, I'm not going to repeat the shit that I read in one of the comments because it's like fucking obscene, but I'll loosely describe it as best as I can. But somebody basically turned around in the comment thing where like they were discussing, it's like, oh, did Dr. Disrespect do this? Like, did Twitch settle with him out of court because he was accused, but turned out he didn't do it? Like, what the fuck's going on? It's all shrouded in mystery, drama. But I'm just like looking through the comment sections of each of these fucking streamers, like, opinion on what's going on. And one comment section in particular, there was this dude, and he put this thing in where it's like, legalize inappropriate stuff with children, just because it's not illegal, or just because it's illegal doesn't mean it's immoral. And like, obviously there's like fucking like 137 replies, all being like, who, what the fuck, like, you know, get the fuck off the internet, who the fuck are you need to be in jail, like, what the fuck are you talking about, blah blah. And this guy was just hitting back, or this bot, whatever, was just hitting back with some of the most insane, like, the stuff when you read it, you're like, oh my god, like, how could you even type that? Like, do you know, like there's fucking serial killers who wouldn't say that shit. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's wild. And like, it is kind of like, not kind of dark, it is, it's like horrifically dark that unfortunately there are groups, I'd call it a cult, do you know what I mean? That's what, like, that's what that has to be, like the whole, what, Mambla or something, like, where they're these people that are genuinely trying to LARP. You know, I think that like the whole fake it till you make it, like, well, maybe they're not, like, maybe they are fucking actual demons in human form, but like the idea that you could have a group of people who are genuinely trying to argue that pedophilia should be legalized, or like pedophilia is like a historically accepted thing, or like all this fucking shit. Like, the fact that those people don't just get rounded up and like, no, I know if somebody says something like that and then you round them up and fucking hang them, then you have set a precedent for somebody can just say something and then get rounded up and hung. I know. It's like a stupid fucking overly literal way to interpret reality in like this legalistic fucking jargon, bureaucratic bullshit. Like, we all know in our heart of hearts, I believe anyway, you know, most of us anyway, we know when someone should just be like, okay, we need to get rid of him and let God sort him out. Fuck that shit. Because, like, if you try to logically and emotionally deduce why it's not up to you to punish this person or some shit when they've, like, violated a child in the village or some shit, like there's a reason most cultures just go, hang that nigga. Like, like, I'm fairly, like, I don't know if this is a thing, but like, I'd be fascinated now to look at like animal documentaries and be like, because there's so many correlations between animal behavior and psychology and like human behavior and psychology. Like, we do a lot of similar shit. So I wonder if there's like a common example of like an animal species that like where a adult will try and like copulate with an infant, and the result is that like the fucking pack like rip him apart or something. Like, do you know what I mean? I wonder if that's a thing. Like, because I haven't like witnessed or heard anything. Like, I've never like, you know, are chimpanzees pedophiles too? I've never like seen that documentary, but I'd be fascinated. Like, that'd be fascinating to try and like deduce. Is like, is there an example in nature that you can point to where that behavior on an instinctual level to something like a fucking wolf or a bear or an octopus even is seen as like a transgression that warrants a violent response or a banishment of some sorts, you know, where like, you know, you have a lot of dolphins and like fucking one of the dolphins is like fucking pedo and he like tries to fuck one of the baby dolphins and all the dolphins are like, yeah, and they like beat the fuck out of him and kill him. I don't fucking know. Just thinking about that and describing it, I know it's dark, but it'd actually be hilarious. Like, just all the squeaking and like, and then how they would like fuck him up. It's just this like mobbed dolphin, like all dead, floating in the water. Like, they all just fuck off and leave him there. You're like, you got guys in fishing trawlers who come across every once in a blue moon. They come across a dolphin that's been like bet to death by other dolphins. And the thing has chomo carved into its chest, and then the fishermen are like, man, those dolphins, like, what the fuck? Like, it's like they've got societal issues. Oh, that'd be fucking hilarious. If you, like, came across dolphin murders, you know, like, you know, like there'd be, like, fishing trawlers coming across scenes where there's been, like, a dolphin war. There's, like, fins and teeth floating in the water, like. Oh, it'd be fucking brilliant. Anyway. Is that enough rambling? Is that enough ranting? I'm 10 minutes over. Need to go. Need to do stuff. Today is one of those days where I did no fucking painting. And I think Stabaru is just delighted. I think he's delighted with life. That I didn't paint a smidge today. Not a drop of goo has been spilt on this painting goo. The poor there make our poor look like billionaires. Yeah. That's so true. That, like, when you see what poor people are like in other countries and cultures. Oh, glorious. And then you see, like, poor people here still have, like, a PlayStation in their house. It's like, what? It's crazy. It's fucking crazy, like. the social credit score keeps them in their destitute state as well. No working your way out of poverty. Like, yeah, like I've heard two different things. Like, so in between is probably true. It's like there's areas of China that are like a dystopian hellscape already, and then there's areas of China that are still like absolutely beautiful and like fairly based in a lot of ways. Like, even though they're still under communist rule. Because like I've heard that like there's a lot of defense, obviously, like, and you could argue a lot of it's propaganda, but like when they're talking about the giant fake libraries that are just for show and stuff, and then you see a lot of people in the comments being like, I'm sick of all of these Americans making it out like China is like, completely fake and stuff. You do realize that like the outside, the initial lobby, the front of the library is meant to look like that because it's an artistic style, and all the actual books are in the back. But then there's loads of replies to that comment being like, why would you build a library like that? That's fucking retarded. Like, why are all the books in the back? Like, it's like, it's interesting. Like, it's like, there's stuff that you can tell is just fucking true. That's why I like looking at stuff like sinkholes now, because there's like a recorded video clip of some dude driving down the road on a moped and then just disappearing into the road. But then you have the like ideological political shit where a lot of it's just rhetoric and opinion. And then they just show you something from a certain frame of reference, and it's like, okay, it's a building. Okay, there's lots of fake books. It could just be an installation. It could be an art expo. It could be just this thing that is being framed as, look at the Chinese making a lot of fake shit, I think that's what's more interesting is when you see the fucking ghost cities. When you see that shit, you're like, hold on a minute. Like, cause like one of the creepiest looking things ever is like 3 apartment blocks that are just completely empty. You're just like, do. Like, you can literally put like that shit pisses me the fuck off, man. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's an insane amount of that where you have like all these homeless people and all of these abandoned empty buildings. Do you know what I mean? Like, all of these fucking government outreach, all this tax money, all this shite, when everybody knows that you could just retrofit like a shitty abandoned building for fuck all money. You could pay some local construction workers, be like, here, retrofit that for a bunch of homeless people, and we'll like pay a contract or some shit. Like, like, there'd be so much fucking money and like a massive market. And it'd be funny, like, maybe if that actually happens in the next like 10 to 15, 20 years or something, it'd be funny. Where like there's going to be a huge market for like homing homeless people, like really quickly and efficiently and cheaply. It's just like, all right, we have this apartment block that's like fully, it's got like all the plumbing, all the electrical, like all the windows, double glazing, all this fucking safety shit. It's all there. The only reason people weren't put in is for like stupid fucking like financial shit. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, where's like don't get me wrong, I know a lot of homeless people are homeless because they made themselves homeless. They made stupid decisions. It's their own problem. It's not for us to fix their life for them. Do you know what I mean? That's where you get into this whole fucking victim shit where it's like, look, you made decisions, you ended up here, the only person who can get you out of that place is you, fucking do it. Like, but there's obviously, there has to be a lot of fucking situations as well where you just have these like heartless, soulless systems that like kick, like, whatever about an adult, but homeless children, man, that's fucked up. When you see a fucking like a woman who's like this is a really fucked up situation. I remember seeing an overweight mother of 3 being fed by one of those homeless event things where there's like loads of tents and they like cook a load of shit and hand it out in paper plates. And she's technically not homeless. Like, she goes to a hostel and stuff like that. She's provided for like in some ways and stuff like. But they were just eating that like, cheap fucking tinned spaghetti stuff. Like, it's horrible looking when you just see like 3 fucking like basically toddlers and then one kid that was like 7 years old, and you just have this overweight mother shoveling this stuff into her face, and then like one of the kids is in the pram and is like covered in spaghetti and all. Like, it's just like I've said this before. I mean, like I look at some people and I'm like, how dare you have a child? And I know it's a crazy thing to say, but like I think in certain contexts it's very accurate. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like one of the most beautiful things you can do, if not the most beautiful thing you can do in life, is create more life. Yes, totally. Couldn't agree more. Children are fantastic. They remind you of the simplicity, the beauty, and the fucking the innocence that they have and all this shit. Like, just completely can like snap you out like nothing else of like a depression or like a negative state where you just see a child giggle at something or pretend to throw a fireball at their friend in the garden. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the stuff of pure joy, you know? But having said all that, that is why when I see some fucking utter amoeba that has produced a child and is subsequently putting that child through incredible trauma and strife because they're such a fucking absolute dumpster fire of a human being, and you're like that's like a really high level demon to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, in a weird way, it's like a really high level demonic entity to me is someone who is like a horrible human being, and then they bring a human, like they create life, and then they're a horrible human being around that new life, you know? Oh, God, like, what a fucking horrible thing to do to another entity. Like, welcome to life, and then just, like, all you show them is, like, misery and filth and ugliness and negativity and, like, no, like, joy or, like, you know, fucking, like, any, like, it's horrible. It's fucking horrible, like. And like, and the scale of it, you know, that's the thing that gets to me as well, is like the fucking scale of it, like, because you look at it and it's like, logistically, how do you even, like, whatever about ethically and morally, logistically, how do you do all this without, like, how do you solve all these problems without drastically altering the systems that are already in place? Like, do you know what I mean? And we all know, like, from a basic engineering standpoint, that, like, if you have a functioning system, functioning to what degree, arguably, yeah. But, like, when you have a system and it's, like, doing something, and then you're like, okay, we wanted to do this now, and you, like, drastically change a few things. It's like fucking taking an animal out of an ecosystem. You have absolutely no... It's the tree body problem. You have absolutely no fucking clue. You cannot calculate accurately the consequences, the collateral result, you know, the fucking ripples in the pond that you will cause while you're trying to... It's like the fucking... What's that shit called? The fucking... Tikam Olam, where it's like, you know, this is wrong. God fucked up. We're gonna... It's our duty to you know, to fix this, to fix God's mistake. What a fucking unbelievably arrogant thing to say. It is our duty to correct God's mistake. It's like, hold on a minute. So you're acknowledging that a fucking omnipotent, divine, supernatural entity could have created X, but fucked up, and it's up to you to fix it? You fucking... Like... Oh my God, like, no wonder that kind of mindset or culture or whatever has been kicked out of 109 countries or some shit. Like, when met with that kind of hubris, you're just kind of like, really, nigga? Like, somebody hasn't shot you yet? Like, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of my kingdom before I hang you people. Like, what the fuck? Like, God fucked up and it's all up to us to fix his mistake. Like, what hole did you crawl out of? Like, what the fuck? Like, Jesus Christ. This. Oh, no, I already read that one. Feckin' drum brake. You're trying to fix a brake on one of your vehicles, is it? This one damn spring won't go. Man, mechanical issues can be a pain in the ring. They can be so frustrating. You're like, why isn't this fucking turning the way it's supposed to turn? You spend 3 hours trying to figure something out, and then like 5 hours have finally gone by, and then you realize that, like, you know, when you reassembled it or something, you put one of the screws in the wrong place, and that's what it's hitting up against. So it's actually you that caused the problem. You know, like, you're like, fuck. I hate that shit. That may be where the Hopi people went. Was Auntie Arctica's place. Aunt Arctica. That's hilarious. Oh, that's fucking brilliant. The top knot is looking quite tropical today. Perfect for the Caribbean. Yeah, I know. It's literally looking like a fucking palm tree now. I think it's hilarious that I can feel the weight of it. You know, like I actually can feel the fucking the kinetic energy at the top of me head and all. It's brilliant. It would actually make it quite like, with a bit of practice, I might actually be able to paint something semi-discernible with my hair, like. But that's definitely going to be like a one and done, or like once in a blue moon sort of thing, because I can only imagine how fucked up my hair would be after this kind of paint, you know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it just ended up shaving me head afterwards. Like, that actually would be hilarious. Today, I paint with the top knottu, and then like do a fucking stream, make an absolute mess of the place and all, like behold my top knottu painting goo, and then the following day I'm just bald. Oh fuck. Oh, right. And I love yous and leave yous. I have thoroughly enjoyed this rambling chattu. My sincerest appreciation for Stabaru's request for me to just keep talking shit. You have all proven to me that I'm terrible at art, and that you don't want to see me paint. You just want to hear me talk on my painting stream. That's how good at art I am. The people who come to my painting stream don't want me to paint, they want me to talk. Right, from all of us here at PEINTEINGU, the PEINTEINGU posse, Brother Myro on the beautiful piano, Brother Garos in his beautiful aluminium bucket and sunglasses, and of course, Tobias Beakus Crows, defender of the Dong-U, and Miniberu, purveyor of the Mapu, and I, the one and only Defenderu, demigod of PEINTEINGU, and Master Rambler, bid you farewell, my beloved Japanites, and all you other fearty mortals. I hope you have enjoyed this PEINTEINGU, and I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, be good, be true, and be beautiful. God bless! I will see you again, same time, same place, same high-octane painting energy. Auf Wiedersehen.